Discovery. The alien sun cast long shadows across the excavation site as Dr. Maya Kwan carefully brushed dust from what appeared to be an archaic data crystal. After 3 years on Novus Prime, a planet the Galactic Union claimed had never seen human presence before their official discovery mission 80 years ago, she had finally found what she'd been searching for. Record this, Maya instructed her assistant drone, adjusting her environmental suit's cooling system. The relentless heat of Novus Prime's twin suns made archaeological work grueling, but the discomfort faded against the significance of her discovery. Artifact NP-3327, data crystal of apparent human manufacture. Estimated age. She hesitated, checking her scanner again. Impossible. The scanner's display showed a date that couldn't be right. According to the Union's official history, humans had achieved interstellar travel barely 2 centuries ago, after being uplifted and guided by the technologically superior Ardari species. Yet this crystal, if the dating was accurate, was over 3,000 years old. Maya slipped the crystal into a containment field and stood, surveying the ancient ruins around her. This wasn't just some primitive outpost. The structures, though crumbling, showed architectural sophistication that rivaled modern colonies. Humans had been here before, long before the Union claimed. Her comm unit buzzed. Dr. Kwan, came the clipped voice of Research Overseer Vex Nera. The Monitoring Council requests an immediate update on your findings. Maya hesitated. The Ardari Overseer had been increasingly intrusive in recent weeks, ever since she discovered the first anomalous human artifacts. Still cataloging preliminary findings, she replied carefully. Nothing significant to report yet. The Council shuttle arrives tomorrow. Prepare your discoveries for inspection. Vex Nera's tone left no room for argument. All artifacts, especially any with unusual dating parameters. After disconnecting, Maya stood motionless, considering her options. The Monitoring Council, the Union's scientific authority, rarely made personal visits to remote excavations. Their sudden interest confirmed her suspicions. They knew what she might find here, and they wanted to control it. Maya packed the crystal with several others she had recovered and buried over the past weeks. The official historical narrative, that humans were a primitive species who had needed alien guidance to reach the stars, had never seemed right to her. Small inconsistencies in the archaeological record had drawn her to this remote world, following hunches and fragments of evidence that her colleagues had dismissed. Now she needed to leave. Immediately. As the primary sun set, Maya slipped away from the main camp, her precious findings secured in a shielded pack. Her academic colleagues would report her missing by morning, but by then she needed to be off-world. The spaceport at Novus Prime's only settlement was her destination, though she had no concrete plan beyond that. The settlement's lights came into view as she crested a ridge, a sprawling collection of prefabricated structures and landing pads. It served the mining operations that were the planet's primary economic activity. Maya adjusted her hood, obscuring her features as she entered the bustling trading post. She needed transport, unofficial transport that wouldn't register her departure. The Union monitored all official flights, but every frontier world had its shadow economy. Looking for something specific, the voice came from behind her, casual but alert. Maya turned to face a tall human with sharp eyes and an easy smile that didn't quite reach them. "Just passing through," she replied, studying him. His clothing marked him as a pilot, worn flight jacket, utility pants with too many pockets, and the supple bulge of a sidearm beneath. "That's a shame," he said, stepping closer, "because you look exactly like the Union archaeologist whose image just hit the restricted channels." He showed her a small datapad with her face displayed, and the words DETAI and MEDVAT beneath it. Maya's hand moved to her concealed stunner, but the man raised his hands. "Relax. If I were reporting you, we wouldn't be having this conversation." He glanced around casually. "Name's Torin. I run transport for people with urgent travel needs and limited questions." "How much?" Maya asked, relaxing slightly but remaining wary. Depends on where you're going and who's chasing you. His eyes flickered to her pack. And what you're carrying that has the Ardari in such a state? Maya hesitated. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford, but options were limited. I need to reach the frontier stations, beyond Union space. Torin whistled. That's not a milk run. 20,000 credits. Half now. It was most of what she had, but staying meant capture. Fine, she agreed. When do we leave? Now, Torin said, nodding toward a side alley. My ship's at the auxiliary field. We have about 30 minutes before the port gets locked down. As they moved through the crowded streets, Maya noticed the Union security presence increasing. Ardari officials and their human subordinates were questioning travelers and scanning IDs. Friends of yours? Torin asked as they ducked into a service corridor. I found something they don't want found, Maya replied. Something that contradicts their version of human history. Torin's expression darkened. You wouldn't be the first. He led her through a maze of maintenance tunnels until they emerged at a small landing field where a battered cargo ship waited. It wasn't impressive, mismatched hull plates and outdated design, but it was her only chance. The Sparrowhawk, Torin introduced with a hint of pride. She doesn't look like much, but she's got it where it counts. They boarded quickly, and Maya strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat as Torin initiated launch sequences. Better hope whatever you found is worth it, he said, hands flying across the controls. We're about to make some powerful enemies. The ship lifted off just as security vehicles converged on the field. Maya watched through the viewport as Novus Prime fell away beneath them, wondering if she'd ever return to complete her work. They're scrambling interceptors, Torin noted, checking sensors. Mind telling me what exactly you found that warrants this response? Maya removed the data crystal from her pack. Evidence that humans had interstellar civilization thousands of years before the Union claims. That we didn't need the Ardari to guide us to the stars. We were already there. Torin's eyes widened. If that's true, it changes everything. It gets worse, Maya said. I think the Ardari didn't uplift us. I think they found us, defeated us, and then erased our history. She rolled the crystal between her fingers. And now I need to prove it. As the Sparrowhawk accelerated toward the jump point, Union vessels in pursuit, Maya knew there was no turning back. The truth about humanity's past was within her grasp, and it might just rewrite the future of the galaxy. The ship shuddered as it absorbed weapons fire from the pursuing vessels. Torin's hands danced across the controls, executing evasive maneuvers with practiced precision. We can't outrun them conventionally, he said, flipping switches overhead. Preparing for emergency jump. Inside a gravity well? Maya asked, alarmed. That's suicide. Torin grinned. Only if you're using Union-approved drive configurations. He pulled a lever, and the ship lurched. Fortunately, this bird has some modifications they don't know about. The Sparrowhawk shuddered violently as space distorted around them. Maya clutched her harness, watching the pursuing ships fall away as they accelerated beyond normal parameters. The stars stretched into lines, and then they were in the swirling chaos of hyperspace, having jumped far closer to the planet than should have been possible. That wasn't a standard hyperdrive, Maya observed when her stomach settled. No, Torin agreed, checking systems. It's based on some old tech I salvaged from a derelict vessel in the Outer Rim. Nobody manufactures drives like this anymore, or nobody's supposed to. Maya sat straighter. Where exactly did you find this derelict? Uncharted system, no official designation. Just a string of numbers in my nav computer. He glanced at her. Why? Because the crystal I found. It's not just historical records. It contains engineering schematics, including drive technology far more advanced than what the Union uses. She leaned forward. I think your modified drive might be based on ancient human technology. Torin's expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. That would explain why the salvage team that found it disappeared shortly after reporting their discovery. For the next several hours, as the Sparrowhawk traveled through hyperspace, Maya used Torin's data systems to begin analyzing the crystal's contents. The language was recognizably human, but used characters and syntax that had evolved differently from known human languages. "It's like an alternate evolutionary path of language," she explained, pointing to symbols on the screen. "As if human civilization developed in isolation for millennia. Or as if something disrupted our development," Torin suggested. "And what we know now is the recovery, not the continuous evolution." Maya nodded, impressed by his insight. "Exactly. And look at this." She highlighted a section containing star charts. "These match our current galactic positioning systems, but with different names and territorial boundaries. Human territories that span what are now dozens of Union species homeworlds. So we weren't just spacefaring," Torin said slowly. "We were an interstellar power. One that somehow fell," Maya confirmed grimly. "And I think I know who was responsible." She accessed another section of data, revealing images of bipedal figures with distinctive cranial structures. The Ardari, but not as allies or mentors. The images showed conflict, battles in space, planetary bombardments, and finally, scenes of what appeared to be mass memory manipulation. "They didn't just defeat us militarily," Maya whispered. "They rewrote our history, our identity, made us forget what we were." Torin stared at the images, his face hardening. "And now they're our benevolent guides to the stars. The architects of the Union." A proximity alarm interrupted their discovery. "We're approaching the frontier stations," Torin announced, returning to the pilot's seat. "But I'm thinking that's not far enough anymore." Maya looked at him questioningly. "There's a place, a hidden outpost, where people with dangerous knowledge gather," he explained. "People who found pieces of the puzzle you're assembling. They call themselves the Restoration. You're part of them," Maya realized. Torin nodded. "A courier, mostly. But this," he gestured to her discoveries, "this is what they've been searching for. Proof." As the Sparrowhawk dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of known space, Maya knew she stood at a crossroads. Behind lay the comfortable lies of the Union. Ahead, a dangerous truth that could reawaken humanity's lost legacy and challenge the very foundation of galactic society. "Take me to them," she decided. The crystals in her possession weren't just artifacts. They were weapons, weapons of truth that could ignite a revolution across every human world in the galaxy. Revolution. The Restoration's base was concealed within an asteroid field surrounding a brown dwarf star, a location absent from official star charts. As Torin navigated the Sparrowhawk through the treacherous debris field, Maya caught glimpses of cleverly disguised structures built into the larger asteroids, connected by nearly invisible transit tubes. "How many people are here?" she asked, spotting a hangar carved directly into a massive rock. "Fluctuates," Torin replied, transmitting authentication codes, "usually around 500. Scientists, historians, military defectors, anyone who stumbled onto fragments of the truth and managed to escape." The ship docked inside a cavernous bay where a small reception committee awaited them. Maya recognized the insignia on their uniforms, variations on old Earth Space Service designs, deliberate callbacks to a heritage the Union had tried to erase. A tall woman with silver-streaked hair stepped forward as they disembarked. "I'm Commander Ilara Voss," she introduced herself. "Torin's message said you found something significant." Maya noted the respect in Torin's posture as he addressed the commander. "She has proof, Ilara. Not fragments or theories. Actual technological and historical records from before the suppression." Voss's eyes widened slightly, the only indication of emotion on her otherwise disciplined face. "Follow me." They were led through a complex that blended military functionality with research facilities. People of various specialties worked at stations monitoring communications, analyzing data, and maintaining the base's systems. All were human. Maya realized she hadn't seen a non-human face since boarding the Sparrowhawk. The Union believes this sector is uninhabitable due to radiation from the brown dwarf, Voss explained as they walked. A misconception we carefully maintain. They entered a secure conference room where several others waited, a mix of scientists, engineers, and what Maya took to be military strategists. After introductions, Maya placed her data crystals on the table. These were recovered from an ancient human outpost on Novus Prime. She began. They're approximately 3,200 years old, according to dating protocols, and they contain evidence that humans had an interstellar civilization long before the Ardari supposedly uplifted us. She activated a projection system, displaying the star charts and historical records from the crystals. This shows human territories spanning nearly a third of what is now Union space, with technology that in some ways surpasses current Union capabilities. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. One of the scientists, Dr. Reyes, was the first to speak. This correlates with artifacts we've recovered from 17 other worlds, but nothing this comprehensive has been found before. The Ardari didn't guide us to the stars, Maya continued. They conquered us, used some form of mass cognitive manipulation technology to erase our history, and then reintroduced themselves as Sager's generations later. But why? Asked a young analyst. Why not just exterminate us if we were rivals? Because of what makes humans unique, Torin suggested, stepping forward. Our adaptability, our creativity. They wanted those qualities working for them, not against them. Voss nodded. The Ardari value stability above all else. Their own evolution stagnated millennia ago. They maintained their dominance by controlling and limiting other species, preventing any from developing into a threat, or from remembering they once were a threat, Maya added. For hours, they analyzed the data, comparing it with the Restoration's existing research. The picture that emerged was both inspiring and sobering. Humanity had once been a major galactic power with a unique approach to technology that emphasized innovation over standardization, the opposite of the Union's rigid technological control. This drive system alone would revolutionize space travel, an engineer named Keller noted, examining the schematics Maya had discovered. No wonder they keep human engineers compartmentalized and supervised. It's not just about technology, Maya insisted. It's about identity. Humans across the Union have been taught that we're a junior species, lucky to have been guided to the stars. This truth would awaken something the Ardari have worked millennia to suppress. Our independence, our ambition, our history, Voss agreed. The question is, how do we use this information? The debate that followed was intense. Some advocated for immediate, widespread release of the information to every human world. Others cautioned for a more targeted approach, reaching military and political leaders who could prepare for the inevitable backlash. The Ardari will not relinquish control easily, warned a tactical officer. Once this information spreads, they'll recognize it as an existential threat to their dominance. They already see us as a threat, Torin countered. Why else maintain the fiction? Why else monitor human world so carefully? They fear what we might remember. As the discussion continued, alarm sirens suddenly blared through the facility. A communications officer burst into the room. Union fleet detected entering the system. Multiple capital ships and fighters. They found us. Voss was immediately in motion. Evacuation protocol Alpha. Get our people to the backup locations. She turned to Maya. Someone tracked you here. Maya's mind raced. The crystals. They might have embedded tracking technology we couldn't detect. No time for blame, Torin said. We need to move. Not yet, Voss countermanded. If they found this base, they'll find the others eventually. This is our moment. She turned to her communications officer. Prepare the broadcast system. Full spectrum, all channels, every human colony and settlement. The system isn't fully tested, the officer protested. And a broadcast that powerful will drain our reserves. We won't be able to evacuate everyone. Then those who remain will ensure the message gets out, Voss said firmly. She looked around the room. I need volunteers to stay and complete the broadcast while the evacuation proceeds. Maya didn't hesitate. I'll stay. This is my discovery, my responsibility. Then I'm staying too, Torin declared. Others stepped forward as well, scientists and soldiers united by purpose. Voss nodded with grim approval. The rest of you, get our people out. Take copies of the data. If we fail here, you must succeed elsewhere. As the evacuation began, Maya worked with the remaining team to prepare the broadcast. The entire base shuddered as the first Union weapons struck the asteroid field's outer defenses. They're jamming conventional communications, reported a technician. But the quantum entanglement transmitter is unaffected. Quantum entanglement? Maya asked. That's theoretical. Not to our ancestors, Torin said with a tight smile. We recovered one transmitter node, reverse-engineered others. Limited range, but enough to seed the message across key worlds. From there, it will spread. The base rocked with another impact. Outer defenses failing, someone called out, 15 minutes before breach. Maya finalized the broadcast package, a complete data dump of the crystal's contents, along with analysis and authentication protocols that would allow others to verify the findings independently. She added a personal message, speaking directly to camera. To all humans across the galaxy, you have been lied to. We were not given the stars. They were taken from us. Today, we reclaim our history and our future. Verify this data yourself. Share it. Remember who we were and who we can be again. As she finished recording, the facility took a direct hit. Power fluctuated, and emergency systems activated. Primary transmitter damage, reported an engineer working frantically. Switching to backups. Power at 60%, barely enough for a full broadcast. Union troops have breached the outer docks, came another report. 5 minutes until they reached the command center. Torin established a defensive position at the entrance, while Maya and the technical team made final adjustments to the broadcast system. The quantum transmitter hummed to life, drawing massive power as it prepared to send the message simultaneously to dozens of receiver nodes hidden on human worlds throughout the Union. Broadcast integrity at 97%, called out the communications specialist. Ready on your mark. Weapons fire echoed from nearby corridors. Voss took position beside Torin, weapon ready. For 3,000 years, they've kept us ignorant, she said. That ends today. Maya placed her hand on the activation control. Broadcasting now. The transmitter surged, channeling power through the quantum-entangled nodes. Lights throughout the facility dimmed as energy was redirected to maintain the broadcast. On a status display, green lights began illuminating across a galactic map, marking successful transmission to hidden receivers. It's working, Maya breathed. 62% of target nodes receiving. The doors to the command center buckled under enemy fire. Torin and Voss returned fire through the widening gaps as Union soldiers, both Ardari and human, attempted to breach the final defense. 78%, called the technician. 90. Transmission complete. As the words left his mouth, the doors gave way. Time seemed to slow as Union forces poured into the room. Maya saw Voss fall, struck by multiple blasts. Torin continued firing, providing cover as the last evacuation pod launched from an adjacent bay. A tall Ardari in command insignia stepped through the chaos, targeting Maya directly. Do you have any idea what you've done? The alien demanded, mandibles clicking in what she recognized as extreme agitation. Maya stood tall despite the weapons aimed at her. Restored the truth. You've ignited a war, the Ardari hissed. No, Torin corrected, lowering his weapon as resistance became futile. You started the war 3,000 years ago. We're just finally fighting back. As they were taken into custody, Maya caught glimpses of display screens showing breaking news across Union networks. Emergency broadcasts, civil disturbances, and the beginning of what would become known as the Remembrance Uprising were already visible on human worlds. Aboard the Union command vessel, Maya and Torin watched through a detention cell viewport as the restoration base was destroyed by sustained bombardment. Yet both knew it was too late to contain what they had released. What happens now? Maya asked quietly. Torin's eyes reflected the distant explosions. Now humanity remembers, and everything changes. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, humans were receiving and sharing the forbidden knowledge. In government offices, military bases, academic institutions, and private homes, the truth of their stolen history was taking root. Questions long suppressed were being asked. Connections were being made. And deep in the Ardari homeworld, ancient contingency protocols, created millennia ago for a day they hoped would never come, were being activated as the architects of humanity's subjugation faced their greatest fear, a united human race that remembered its true heritage. The revolution had begun.